Welcome to Orange County Power Players, where we spotlight the personal, professional, and financial success stories of OC's top leaders. Here's your host, Danny Flores.
Welcome back to OC Power Players, where I interview some of the most successful people in Orange County. Today's honored guest is Elan Sudberg, zooming in from Garden Grove. Elan is the CEO of the Alkemist Labs, a passionately committed contract testing laboratory specializing in plant and fungal authentication and quantitative analytical services to the food and beverage, nutraceutical company, animal and psychedelic industries. He holds a degree in chemistry from California State University, Long Beach, and has authored numerous articles on phytochemistry and analytical techniques for the natural products industry. Elan is on the AHPA board and was founding chair of the Cannabis Committee and now chairs the Psychedelic Plants and Fungi Committee. Other boards he serves include the National Animal Supplemental Council and the United Natural Products Association, Executive Advisory Committee. He is a pharmacognosy and natural products chemistry advisor to the American Herbal Pharmacopoeia. The industry has honored Elan and his company in 2019 with the Nutra Ingredients USA Nutra Champion Award for advocacy of best testing practices and the Nutrition Business Journal Awards for efforts on behalf of industry in 2022. Welcome, Elan.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be here.
I don't know if everybody understood what I was reading. So give it to us in something simple, what you do and how you got there.
Perfect. So I'm the CEO of Alkemist Labs, and we are a third-party contract analytical laboratory. And what that means is any company who is buying or selling a medicinal plant or mushroom or having anything to do with those ingredients, whether it's a finished product like a cosmetic or a finished product like a supplement that you find on the store shelves, or they're selling the ingredients, we are the middlemen involved in testing to ensure quality, purity, potency, and contamination. So we basically make sure you bought the right stuff and it's safe for use and free of harmful chemicals.
Wow. So that's good, right? If somebody wants to use these products that they've been tested and they've been approved, that they're not harmful to you. So here's a magic question. How many products are out there that are not tested, and how does a consumer know that they're consuming something that's safe for them and has been tested?
Yes, so that's a age-old question, and it's an ever-changing answer. The consumers can look for products that, well, first I'll say quality costs money. So if you're finding a rock bottom deal, there's probably some issue with that. I would always avoid that. Just with anything important, if it's the cheapest of the brand, it's probably not going to be what you think you're buying. That said, there are products that are super duper expensive that are also not good. So somewhere in the between. But I'm a transparency guy. I think brands who have the highest quality are the ones who are sharing the quality story on their websites, in their packaging. Some brands have QR codes that you can look up, even lab testing results, to ensure that what is actually in the bottle in your hand is actually what's on the label is in the bottle in your hand. And so the quick answer is look for products who have a website that have a web page devoted to quality and actually give data about their quality story. Maybe perhaps how much they spend on quality testing each year or the labs that they use. We have a very small group of elite brands that are using our logos on their bottles to ensure their consumers are confident in their purchases, because we give full transparency in our lab data that they can then use in their marketing. So quality to me is a secret weapon in marketing, seldomly, unfortunately. And so back to your question, you can look for brands that tell a quality story proudly and transparently.
Right. Now that's good to know. Now, are there stores that carry all products that have been tested, kind of base their reputation on quality and testing versus
so some of the big box stores you might think of, like the Whole Foods or the Vitamin Shops and GNCs, those brands are big brands and they do an enormous amount of due diligence making sure that what they're selling on their store shelves are in fact good quality products. They do their own testing. We do work for all those brands So they will sell products that have already been tested by my lab, and then they
Mm-hmm.
will themselves test them again just to reconfirm. And then the other big player is obviously Amazon, who is doing a lot of good work to progress that. But at
Mm-hmm.
this moment, there's a lot of opportunity for improvement because it's a little bit of the wild wild west on that you can I go there occasionally and I'll see brands I've never heard of. And if it's a brand that I've never heard of and they don't play in our industry and they're not on some board, I generally steer clear. So Amazon, I know, is doing a lot of hard work right now. It's a big lift to test quality for all those products, but they're moving forward to basically ensure that the products, if they're going to be sold, have done some due diligence on their own, oftentimes using labs like mine to be in the background.
Right. So that would almost say that even taking one step back with Amazon, that Amazon just let anybody sell any product, whether they're lotions or vitamins or anything else.
It was that way. They've really improved that process quite a bit, and I would say there's still a lot of room for improvement. I think they made something so big and it's so hard to harness all the little players that it's either shut everything down or do a slow trickle of efforts to ensure.
Right. And I think maybe the other half of it is like they maybe didn't even know what was going to be put on the website. They just
Sure.
created this massive machine and people start putting it on, and then they say, "Oh, we got to take a step back and we
Right.
want to have quality products on here to, for reputation."
Exactly.
But
Exactly. And safety. I mean, look, it's
yeah,
efficacy. Will it work? Which we have trouble talking about in this industry because we're not the drug industry and we can't say we'll treat, prevent, or cure an illness. But the quality is generally inferring efficacy. But also, safety. You don't want to sell product that would be harmful to someone. And, on that topic, I'll say that the dietary supplement industry has the lowest of recall levels of all the FDA regulated industries, including drugs, vaccines, food, cosmetics, medical devices. Our little tiny industry, dietary supplements, is like 2% of the recalls that FDA has to deal with. So that said, we're an amazingly safe and mature industry in comparison to what is commonly thought as the safest, which is drugs and
right, right. Well, why would you say what's attributed to having such low recalls?
what the industry people have this false understanding that they think falsely that we are not regulated, that we are not tested, and we're not safe. And so the fact is, we are regulated under the FDA,
Hmm.
21 CFR.
Hmm.
That's a code word for these regulations on the FDA, and they do require brands to do quality control testing, especially as products are sold from brand X, from the grower to the broker to the supplier to the
Hmm.
contract
Hmm.
manufacturer to the bottler. Testing is mandated in between identity, making sure it is what they think it is.
Hmm.
Potency, if you say there's X% caffeine in your product, you need to test that with a lab. And then contamination, free from harmful levels of metals, pesticides, residual solvents, and microbiology. So these things are built into our industry. We've been around for thousands of years. These regs are fairly new, but the industry has done a great job to adopt those safety records or safety protocols. And so we just have a
Right.
very low recall rate because we're doing a great job.
So you're testing for authenticity, um, basically saying if you say this is what you're selling, we're
Correct.
here to test to make sure of that,
Correct.
plus for the safety, but not for the results they're supposed to give.
Correct.
All
So
right.
we know we drink coffee for that upping effect, right? That generally
Mm-hmm.
comes with caffeine and caffeine's friends. Um, so everyone knows why you drink coffee, but Starbucks doesn't say we'll increase energy level by X%. So,
Mm-hmm.
but we know that Starbucks has 80 milligrams of caffeine in it. You can look it up. A Coca-Cola has about the same. So you get that effect from
Mm-hmm.
knowing what's in it. So I like to say quality infers efficacy. Because someone says,
Mm-hmm.
buy this ginger product, it has X% gingerols in it, and that's the spicy ginger chemicals in the product that might help with your
Right.
digestion. And there's
Right.
tons of clinical studies to back up my words. Then they know if it's a product that's being sold with lab testing or lab data to back up the label on the back, that you can sort
Right.
of infer quality. But our industry does not get to say we'll treat, prevent, or cure any illness.
Right.
Rarely do we have clinical studies that allow those words to be used. And you've seen some
Right.
products on mainstream TV. There's some beat products and some memory products that
Right.
are
Yeah.
rigorous clinical studies, cost
They'll do all
millions
these
of dollars.
magical effects for you, and it's just like, I don't know.
Yeah, yeah. Trust is has to be earned in my
Hmm.
book.
Yeah, they sell that. Yeah, they sell. Yeah, and you see them on social media as well. That they're
Yeah,
saying this, been having trouble sleeping or just many different things. And I kind of hate to say it, but it kind of sometimes people are just selling things to sell, and it's a big fad. It comes in, and everybody buys it, and
Yeah,
then it disappears.
they're just marketing companies selling a thing.
Yeah.
It could be the next thing and whatever's next quarter that's hot to sell. And that does exist. But I would have to defend the rest of the industry that is a good participant in quality control. That
Mhm.
it's mostly not like that. There's of course going to be charlatans in every single industry has
Yeah.
them.
Yeah.
You know,
So now, how long does it take the testing process? And it probably varies from product to product.
right.
But if somebody comes to you and says, "Alan, I need to test this because I want to put out a quality product, and I want to be able to say that I've tested it before,"
Right.
how long? What does that look like?
It really depends on the product complexity, but we do some of the fastest analysis in the industry. So about 4 days, you can send a sample, and we can turn around an identity result. But the fact is, it could be prepped in the morning and run during the day, and results could be ready in that afternoon. So it's about a day process for each sample. We allow a lot of space for preparation and also interpretation of the data, which is probably the most important and challenging part. Anyone
Mhm.
can throw a thing in an instrument and get a reading, but in understanding what that data means. And also add a lot of the industry sells these complicated blends. It's not just green tea powder. It's green tea with other things. And so the second you mix multiple ingredients, the methods that were developed for green tea won't work on your green tea other blend mixture. So a lot of the work that we do that's specialized is determining methods that are fit for purpose, suitable, reproducible for these complicated finished products, so that the final shelf, Whole Foods or Amazon or whatever it might be, they will feel confident that that label is accurate and the product will be not harmful, and of course infers efficacy for whatever they're trying to use the product for.
So they have a blend of ingredients. Wouldn't it be easier if they give you the
Mhm.
different ingredients so you
Yes,
can test them
so much easier.
individually?
Yeah,
I don't know. I just
here's
thought of
here's
that
the
right now.
right. A good time we're done, right? But the fact is, what matters the most is what's on the store shelves and what's going to go in someone's stomach. So while they're sourcing the ingredients, let's just say 5 ingredients from various brokers from around the world, those ingredients could all be perfectly tested out fine. It then a lot of times goes to another company to combine the ingredients and mix them and put them in a gummy or a
Mhm.
capsule. There's another opportunity for issues to occur. So anytime there's a gap in the chain of custody, there's an opportunity for testing to make sure something is in fact
Oh, okay.
safe.
Well,
And
yeah,
that's
that kind of makes sense. If the ingredients individually are totally harmless, maybe when you combine them, like, wait, it's a toxic
was not to
combination.
say the combination is just that the process could have been interfered. A lot of brands are virtual, so they have an idea, they sub out the work to source the materials, someone else is going to put them together. I might test the individual ingredients for that player. They then move the product to another player in another warehouse with other employees. And what if one forgets to put this in, or one puts in the wrong stuff, or
Oh,
anything's
yeah.
possible when you have a chain of custody so large with so many people's, hands and or businesses in the product, that we exist to basically ensure that those potentials don't occur. And I'll share that it's very rare. We fail things generally because of poor quality. You can bite into a peach right now, and it's peach season, right? You
Yeah.
can go to places in the winter and buy peaches out of season, and I'm sure they're tasteless peaches, right? So
Yes.
that's like a least bad good example that
Right.
okay, peach
Okay.
just tastes great, right? So if your green tea doesn't have all the caffeine and EGCGs and things that you are looking for, that sort of energetic mental effect,
Right.
you're not going to get sick, but you're not going to stay up late and finish that paper or read that book or whatever.
Right.
So we do mostly work to make sure the quality is there, and it's very little of it is making sure it's free from poisons and things like that, because that just doesn't really happen. That's a lot of that is the news talk that wants to not support this industry.
Right. 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 So how do you make the different products aware of you guys so that you can,
Yeah,
I guess, try to connect with them and say, hey, listen,
yeah,
it helps you to have, our stamp or whatever, a QR code that has the results of testing for your own product so that you can
yeah.
really market it better and know that
So
it's safe.
Yeah, so I identify as a marketing guy with a chemistry degree. My dad and I started this lab almost 30 years ago, and so we were kind of the only ones focusing on plants and fungus and the identity. And
Hmm.
so it's just sort of a critical mass of momentum of marketing. I love marketing, I love branding. It's fascinating what gets people to make that final click.
Hmm.
And I'd have to say that we as a company have done a really great job of marketing and branding our tiny little lab, and we're probably smallest medium size now, but we've been the biggest small lab for a long time, and the industry just knows us. I'm very vocal on LinkedIn. I stand on a soapbox and yell for the rights of this industry and the potential of this industry. Not a lot of lab leaders are, I would say, and actually no one knows many of the lab leaders because they don't talk. Most of them are in the back in the lab being either basically investment bankers or nerds. And
Right.
I hail from a nerd, but I'm a marketing guy, so I love to get up in front of my industry and preach and advocate because I
Here we
truly
are.
believe that what we do here impacts global health, and my lab basically improves access to those healthy products as additions to or in alternatives to pharmaceutical drugs. Happy those things exist. If I hope I never need them, but if I do, I'm grateful for their development and availability. But in the meantime, herbs, mushrooms have a lot of power and vitamins to impact healthy lifestyles.
So what has been one of your biggest hurdles in your business to keep propelling forward and making sure that people are aware of you
Yeah,
guys, or even other ones, just so that things get
yeah.
tested for the benefit of the consumer?
As I mentioned a minute ago, we've been sort of the biggest small lab in the industry, and I'd say now we're the smallest medium size. We're still growing, but I compete against billion-dollar companies, Goliaths. These are lab consortiums owned by banks that test 90 different labs around the world: oil, gas, tilapia, leather products, materials, and also chamomile. So we've been really the narrow focus plant and fungus lab, and we get in front of our industry. And like I said, I'm a marketing guy with a chemistry degree. I believe this industry can do a better job at marketing its quality. The consumers are
Mhm.
told by mainstream media that this is snake oil, or they don't believe these products work, and the fact is that's so false. They're just
Mhm.
basically trying to protect their constituents. And this industry is doing a much better job these days, and I take a share of those responsibility to promote the fact that this industry is full of quality and safety. And so
Mhm.
it really needs to come from the brands to speak to the consumers that these are
Mhm.
potentially healthy, safe options to add to your already good lifestyles to supplement diet
Right.
and
Right.
improve health. When it's cold and flu season, I know exactly what to start taking. If I need to focus at night to write a paper all night, I know
Mhm.
exactly what to taking. And the industry's job is to perpetuate those availabilities with a quality story so the consumers feel safe.
Have you thought of moving into, because you guys seem to have done so well in your industry right now with the products that you test, have you thought about moving into other products that maybe are
Yeah.
not?
Yeah, so each of our growth stratifications have come from my clients saying, please, please, please offer this test because we don't want to use that big lab.
Hmm.
The client experience is garbage, the technical support is garbage, and maybe even the data in some cases is garbage because they're not specialists. And so
Hmm.
every single growth strategy we've had has been the client begging us. And so we're now up to the next thing. I mentioned we do identity testing. Is it or is it not green tea powder? Potency testing, how much caffeine is in it, and then contamination testing, metals, pesticides, residuals, microbiology. That's just plants and mushrooms. There's also vitamins, which are a huge category in this industry that we don't touch because we are currently not specialists there. But that is the movement. My clients are begging me to do the vitamin testing because they already have their samples coming to us for the plants, and it makes sense to continue
Right.
that same
Right.
testing with us for the vitamins. So something that we're considering moving towards. It's a very, very expensive lift. It will likely take investment money to do that the right way, and so that's kind of where we are this next growth phase, which is super exciting and super terrifying all at the same time.
Hmm. Well, yeah. Well, you know how it is. Anytime you level up, it's
Yeah,
always nerve-wracking, right? You're getting out of your comfort zone. You're starting a new testing, and in your case, and then you got to bring in the clients to be able to have it pay off, right? The risk.
exactly.
So how difficult is it, getting, I don't know what kind of equipment you need, but going from 0 to 60 and fully operational as you make
It's
your steps.
Yeah, it's a big lift. So, some of the equipment we have is hundreds of thousands. Even there's a table of $1 million equipment. There's a few tables of those things. To assess the pesticide levels in your average supplement or water or grass is it's $1 million equipment plus a
Hmm.
well-paid employee. You need to have more than one because they're allowed to get sick or take vacations.
Hmm.
So it's not the easiest industry to get into testing. Also, we can compete against, as I mentioned before, these monster global lab consortiums who are,
Hmm.
90,000 employees. I've got 53. My amazing revenue last year is a rounding error in their balance sheet, and so
Yeah,
I
yeah,
know how tiny, minuscule we are.
right.
And so when we want to buy equipment, and the equipment manufacturer says, "Well, we're selling it to biotech company XYZ down the street first," they'll get seven of them, and then we'll get one, and we're sort of low on the list. So just because
Mhm.
we're a smaller player and I'm not, competing
Right,
against the same equipment we use, pharmaceutical companies use down the street in Irvine to the testing. So you can imagine the
right.
revenue generation is a little bit different in those
Yeah,
two companies. So, but yeah, the lab industry is hard to get into. It's expensive. It's nuanced. Employees have to be well trained, very, very smart. It's not the easiest of companies to start and open up, which is why I should share we started off small. My dad and I started the business almost 30 years ago. My bar mitzvah money went towards it, and he
okay.
cashed in a 401k, and that got us, a very, very rudimentary testing equipment, and we kind of built on and sort of played the monopoly game of like, now we got this money, we put it back in, grow bigger and bigger and
Right.
bigger, and
Yeah,
now we employ
yeah.
53 people in Orange County, and I couldn't be happier.
It's your typical entrepreneur story, right? You
Yeah,
start in your garage, you start
yeah,
wherever you
exactly.
start, and just you or you and your dad in this case, and
Yeah.
little by little you get one client and you do a little bit, you do good work, right? That bottom line is you got to do good work if you want to grow.
Yeah, if there's some strategy and some luck involved in that, and over both those are helpful. I think strategy is key. Right place, right time was also important for us. And we knew where we wanted to be, and we stayed there. Other labs didn't have to cash in their bar mitzvah funds to buy equipment because they had investors, so they bought more expensive equipment. But that had them focus on other things, and we sat here in plants and fungus and emerged in about a decade of hard lifts to be the experts. And the industry knows that we are the experts in plants and fungus, and now all the big labs want to buy us for that, and they're getting in line to either harass me into selling or give me reason to allow them in to invest to really be part of our next growth trajectory.
Oh no, that's interesting. Now, one thing before we move to the next is I wanted to say that I heard somewhere that the harder you work, the luckier you get.
uh, I don't know. I mean, you could be there's accuracy and precision. I think you could be working hard in the wrong direction, perhaps. You know,
True.
I do believe in luck. I don't think it's a strategy. It's definitely not a strategy, or it shouldn't be. Hope and luck
No.
are beneficial, but they don't
Hmm.
help the strategic planning. I believe in hard work. There was, 10 years of 16-hour days at first. I gave up my 20s. Fortunately, my wife was working on her master's and PhD, so she and I were both like head down, focusing on our things, and
Hmm.
that helped out. But it was a lot of hard nights, a lot of long nights, a lot of frustration. David and Goliath is a great story. I'm not trying to kill any Goliaths, but the fact is, that argument.
Oh yeah,
The
yeah,
weaponry and all the war power they can just one swipe with a massive sword and take out a whole crowd. Um,
yeah. No,
so
no. It's like the tough question, right? If I'm the client and I'm going to you're trying to do my testing, but I'm looking at big professional lab, and you guys are the small guys. It's like, why would I go with you guys? And yeah, it's the question you have to answer is like, what do you give
yeah,
me that they don't give me?
right. Well, I mean, I'll answer that question. It's client experience, which is that
Right.
relationships are really important. And I'll say if a client is more important, if they're more concerned about the price, well, there's other labs they can use, and that I'll point
100%.
them right over there. Like, if you feel like price is first, that's great. It's
Right.
quality and turnaround time for us. So quality experience, quality of lab testing, reproducibility. The FDA knows our reports. When the FDA goes into one of my clients' sites to do an inspection, which they do regularly, people don't
Hmm.
realize that, but the FDA is checking your chamomile to powder and your green tea and your sports nutrition drink. They see an Alkemist C of A, and they know, okay, they know us, they know what we do, they've been through our lab. When it's a smaller lab, maybe not so much, or a bigger lab, they have less trust because you're not an expert in everything. You can't be an expert in everything.
Mm-mm.
Can't be doing, groundwater testing and chamomile, and be experts at both. I say pick a path
Right.
and stick to it, and maybe let us stay in the plants and fungus.
Right, which is what you guys have done from the beginning, and
Yep.
and you've developed, like in any industry, you develop a reputation in the industry
Mhm.
for your quality and your service and your performance, and looks like you guys have carved that out for you guys, and like you
Sure.
said, you have the big ones chasing you guys either to buy you guys or somehow participate in that. So I think that you guys, it almost sounds like you guys put yourself in a great position in doing so that way
Yeah,
you're ready for the next growth phase.
exactly. Yeah, it's things look really great.
Now you guys do all your testing. It's all done in Orange County.
Yes, sir. Yeah, it's all one location off of Hoover and Garden Grove Boulevard. We have a
Hmm.
beautiful 21,000 square foot lab, 53-ish, really happy employees. We take care of them really well, great benefits.
Hmm.
Culture is critical. I have these values on the wall, 14 feet long, reciprocity and work-life balance are my two favorites. I absolutely
Hmm.
believe, it's one thing if someone doesn't hate their job. It's another thing if they like their job, but I think it's more important if their spouse or their partner, boyfriend, girlfriend, or whatever likes your job, and that keeps people longer. And so we have a really great track record of holding people, 15, 16 years. Average staff is with us like I think 6 years. And these are people in their 20s and 30s. Usually they jump around
Oh,
early in their
yeah,
career,
yeah.
find a good home. Well, when our employees find Alchemist, they stick around for quite a while.
So how do you, and this is like for everybody here. How do you get the spouse or
Mhm.
the significant other to like them where they're working at to build that longevity in
Right.
employment?
So I was on the other side of that when my wife was in corporate America, and she stepped out to homeschool our children, which has been a beautiful opportunity for us all. And but before that, she worked for some big companies, and I remember her coming home just tired, defeated, part of a big thing that really didn't matter. And I remember hearing these horrible stories about some of her bosses, like just to the point where I
Hmm.
hated, her job. I hated her bosses. I hated
Hmm.
the company she worked for. And I didn't even work there. I just dealt with the off
Right,
product
right.
of that. And she'd come home
Yeah.
sad, grumpy, or miserable. So I believe the opposite's possible. You treat your employees well, you compensate them well. And the fact is, if it's only money, there are better paying jobs elsewhere. It's a
Hmm.
fact. You can get paid way more doing other things. But if you treat them well and give them good benefits, their family good benefits, lots of paid time off, and the work-life balance is really true, they come home and they say, "Hey, great day. It was a tough day, but it was a great day. I believe our company is doing the right thing, and I'm happy to go back tomorrow." The spouses like positive returning home
Okay.
spouses. If they
Right.
come home
Yeah.
always grumpy, like great, now I've got a grumpy spouse or whatever it is. And so I think it's important to treat people well, and they come home and tell good stories and not bad stories. There's always going to be office drama, and there'll always be, of 53
Yeah.
people, I can't make all of them happy. This is going to be one that's delusional or has expectations that are, they'll find out later,
Right.
of
Right.
course, when they leave here and they go somewhere else and they're like, oh,
Right. Like,
shouldn't have
dang,
left.
I had a good, yeah.
Yeah, I had a
Yeah.
good, yeah. But for the most part, you treat them well and they work hard and they stay.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. It's the news that they go back home with that helps support that. And that's a good way, a great way of looking at it and trying to build long-term employees because that's a super expensive part of the business is
Yeah.
training people, right?
Training. Yeah,
Especially you guys,
we do a
so
ton of training,
critical.
and it's like your school is your foundation of chemistry. The methodologies that we deploy are all internal. So you don't learn this stuff in your
Mhm.
university degree. A master's and a PhD get closer to a specific expertise in a thing, and that sometimes helps. But now I'm going to throw a gummy with elderberry and bacopa and green tea and whatever. They don't teach that in college. That takes thinking. So we try to find people who have their degrees but learn how to think through problem
Mhm.
solving, and then they can then deploy these problems solving skills to every single sample that comes in. And we test 2,000 plants and fungi, so it's not if you're working in pharmaceutical and you're testing the same ingredient over and over and over again for years, that's terrific. You can push buttons. At Alchemist Labs, our employees test thousands, or it's 10, 20 samples in a day sometimes. Analysts might test, caffeine, gingerols, bacopicides, lithanolyds, all these chemicals in plants that people are trying to measure. They do that all in the same day, and so
Mhm.
a lot of them come to us from pharma and then quickly leave because they can't handle the multi product testing.
Right. Yeah.
And then others stick around for a long time because they really enjoy the products, they enjoy the industry, and they enjoy being part of something that ultimately improves global health, which is, through safe and effective natural medicine.
Right. 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 No, that definitely makes sense. Now I got to ask because it's new, it's on fire, AI.
Yeah.
How is that helping you in what you do?
It helps me write better LinkedIn posts. uh,
Okay.
but in our side, nothing is really coming to mind on the testing yet. what is happening though is AI is now doing the work of researchers in a second to say if I have a desire to make a product that does X, Y, and Z or treats or impacts X, Y, Z, AI is now doing some of the lifting, and so we're seeing some really interesting innovation in product development now, and particularly the pace at things are coming out. So when
Mhm.
COVID hit, we were all concerned about immune system products. AI was still kind of an infant. I think if COVID hit today and we had the AI we have now, product innovation would have happened a lot faster. Perhaps we would have done quicker research studies on ancient Chinese herbs that impacted cellular health or whatever it might be, and I think we probably could have put out products a little bit quicker to address the stimulus at the time. But in the lab setting, a lot of what we do is meeting a spec. So you say there should be 6 milligrams of caffeine in this product. We'll measure it and we'll say there's 6, good to go. We'll say there's 5, call your lawyer. Identity is another tricky one though, because like you can go to the supermarket and you can get a peach, but is it a good peach? And sometimes you don't know that unless you smell it. You can
Mhm.
taste it, which you're not supposed to do at the supermarket. So, it still requires the human touch identity. Like a rose is a
Mhm.
rose, right? But you can give your spouse a
Right.
dry, brown, scentless rose. With genetics, it's still a rose, good to go. You did a great job, but your spouse is not going to be pleased with you giving a brown, dried rose,
Mm.
unless they're an artist, and maybe that's a different story. But AI,
Right.
I don't think is there yet to dig deep enough into identity testing. I also think the industry is too small for folks to really apply, lots of money into an AI technology for testing. But who knows? That might be AI is listening right now and probably saying, "Oh, we got you, Elon. We're going to work on that next."
Yeah, 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 yeah. Because it
Well,
because
as it
it
is,
does, right? You gotta be nice to AI when
right?
it
Oh, I'm
gives
very
you the
nice. I say
result.
thank you. I'm polite
Yeah, yeah,
every
yeah.
time.
Can you
Yeah.
please help me with this?
Every second. I know I'm talking to a robot. I'm even nice to my Roomba. Like, I'm grateful for sweeping the floor this morning.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, no, that's interesting, and that's it. But it's interesting you said that it could be used to come up with the products by telling it what solution you want to
Yeah.
solve.
Yeah.
It kind of
Reverse engineer product. Yeah.
yeah, I've kind of heard people say kind of the same thing like with developing apps. Let's say you're
Yeah.
trying to develop an app, you
Yeah.
almost don't have to be a developer anymore. You can
Yeah.
just tell AI, you know what, write me up, make me an app to do this thing,
Yeah.
and it does it.
Yeah. There's companies in our industry that have showed up with AI platforms. Basically, you can say, I want to create a product with these intentions, and it does all the research. It even finds the brands that sell the ingredients of your specs and can basically put it all together. And it's dangerously fast how amazing
Yeah,
the computers are these days.
it's
And
just
unfortunately, people will be put out of the job. But that's happened in a number of rounds throughout time of swirl
right, right.
innovation, just throbbing of innovation that just comes out, and people are like, "Hey, I've just been absorbed by a computer," and that's this kind of happens.
But see, everybody, if somebody does that, they're actually missing the point. Alon, they can say, "Hey, AI, my job is
Mhm.
going to disappear because of you. Give me something else I can do."
Ask AI in advance. I like it. Yeah, it's true. I
All
mean, you
right.
and I used a calendar app to schedule this. 2 years ago, that would have been an assistant going back and
Yeah,
forth with our crazy calendars, right? But we used
right.
it was HubSpot or you Calendly or whatever it was, and it very quickly analyzed my availabilities and your availabilities, and boom, here we are.
Right,
That's
right. Yeah,
AI,
it was the old paper calendar.
right? Right.
Yeah,
I had an assistant a couple years ago that was doing that for me, and for various reasons, she's no longer with the company. But that was one of her tasks. Like, book this for me with these 3 other people with 15 calendars. It's complicated. Went back and forth for
yeah,
15 years.
yeah. No, no, yeah. So yeah, it's a great tool to have.
Sure.
I think from what when I hear from people, it's not, don't be fearful of your job. Embrace
Yeah.
it and figure out how you can make yourself valuable
Yeah.
using the AI to accomplish what your tasks are
Just,
are.
just flow. Don't resist. Flow.
Because you lose. It's a losing battle. It's here. It's not going anywhere. Everybody's gonna utilize it. Just
Right.
just make yourself more valuable with it.
Yep. 100%. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's such great information, Alon, you've been sharing, and congratulations on the success in your company and your future jumps as you progress forward.
Thank you.
What does the next 6 to 12 months actually look like for you?
It's interesting because, as I shared, it's father and son owned 50/50, and we are now going down the road of bringing on investment to really put some rocket fuel in the company and take advantage of this momentum we have. So I've never worked for companies before. I've only worked for my company. I've never done yesterday until I just did yesterday. It worked out pretty good. And
Hmm.
tomorrow's a brand new day with new challenges. So for me, it's going to be exciting and terrifying. Like I said, it's, we're trying to find the perfect partner for us.
Hmm.
It's going to keep our mission clean and clear and keep the culture intact, and not try to dilute things. There's investors that want to go from X to Y and Z, and they just turn the dials down on all the fun and happiness and culture that really make a team. As just one example, I'm
Right.
desperately avoiding that. I want to find, a partner, whether it's a strategic or, a syndicate or consortium of investors that believe what we do is right. And believe in me, because one of the stories you hear is the investors come in, fire the CEO. I do speak my mind very clearly. It's very hard for me not to do that. I'm miserable when I'm not doing that, and so I have a challenge not to say what I think is right and truthful. And sometimes the bosses don't like that. So my goal is to find the perfect suitor who allows me to be me, Alkemist to
Yeah. Yeah.
Alchemist, my employees to thrive and grow and enjoying, coming to work and their spouses loving the company still. So
Right.
the
No, no,
next
no.
6 to 7 months for me is a big, big change in my work situation potentially.
That's exciting, right? That's exciting. It's nerve-wracking. You're
Yeah,
going to get out of your comfort zone, but that's where the growth comes. And that's for
absolutely.
anybody. Anything, and anytime we feel nervous about something, it's just like, okay,
Yeah,
but it's uncharted territory, but this is what
yeah,
we have to do to level up to the next level.
it's necessary. Growth is painful. It looks like destruction. The seed
Yeah.
breaks open and shatters, and people think that's destruction. It's growth. It's really growth, and it's going to come with
Yeah.
some hard times and hopefully great times. I'm hoping the great times will be more than the hard times.
Right. Exactly. And at the end of the day, you'll probably never regret you did it.
Hopefully that's the case.
Yeah.
If the deal's right, then yes. But I've heard so many stories of it going wrong, so we're being very slow. And the beauty is we're not like desperate. We have an opportunity to grow. We can do it on our own. I want to do it stronger than how we've done before. So we're going to be very choosy and make sure it's the perfect partner for the company, for the people, for the industry. And it's not an SOS, so I don't have to like quickly find someone to help and then do what they say. It's going to be the best partner.
Right. We're working together here, not looking to hire a boss, basically. So,
Yeah, exactly.
right. Yeah. No, that's great, Alon. Thank you so much for everything you've shared. Now, if somebody is listening and they want to get a hold of you, how can they do that?
Yeah, so I'm on LinkedIn, Elan Sudberg, ELANSUDBERG. I'm the only one with that name. You can find me there. That's probably the quickest way to get a hold of me. Or Elan at alchemist.com, alchemist with a K, ALKEMIST.com.
Very good. Okay, Alon, thank you so much. And to our audience, please go to ocpowerplayers.com and follow us on your favorite channel.
Perfect.
Thank you,
Thank you, sir.
Alon.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Sure. Uh, I was in my 40s, about mid 40s, when I had to start wearing them
Yeah.
because the restaurant menus, you have to
Yeah.
kind of pull them
That's
back.
exactly
Now it's too
that's
far
exactly
back.
my
Now they're
story.
too small. I can't read them now.
What the hell's wrong with this menu? And so I went to the doctor and there's this, I'm 46 now. This is about a year ago. And she's like, the doctor's like 30. And she's like, can you think of anything that happened that might have caused this, degradation? And I was like thinking she was talking like an injury or did I poke my eye? I'm like, no, no, nothing. She's like, anything that happens like every year perhaps? And I was like, oh, I don't know, I can't think of it. And she's like your birthday? And I was like, oh,
Oh, yeah.
yeah, that happened. So now I got these glasses and I'm like, and here's what I did notice. I'm like, holy shit, like I've been missing out on resolution that I didn't know I was missing out. And so I can see
Yeah.
my beautiful kids and my wife's face and all that stuff, but
Right.
wow, I didn't realize
Yeah.
what it looked
But
like
it,
because
but
I've
it,
been
it,
been squinting to see things forever without realizing it.
how do you see like far when you're driving it? Is everything clear
Everything's
still?
fine there. Actually, I can see really great far. It's just the
Okay.
menu. My focal area was here. Now it's longer than my arm is now, so it's just not
Yeah.
right now. You know,
So that changes. I mean, because I
That's
started at right about your same age. I'm
yeah,
58.
yeah,
And now I'm noticing like a little more distance is getting a
right,
little more blurry a little bit.
right, right.
Um, so I had an ophthalmologist. I interviewed
Yeah.
one, and
Okay.
one that was an expert in LASIK and
Oh yeah,
in
yeah. Did
many
you get that
different
done?
procedures. And
Yeah.
and so it was a really cool interview because I was learning so much. So I was asking
Yeah,
questions kind of for myself, but I know they're
sure.
questions that everybody wondered. And
Yeah,
so she explained that the lens is behind the color of the eye. Your natural lens
right,
is behind there. And as
right,
you age, starts becoming rigid and the
right.
flexibility goes away.
Exactly.
That's
Yeah,
why we need glasses.
yep.
So
I thought
they
I
have
thought just by not reading books, I was going to be fine with that.
no
I'm not a
age.
reader, but nope, didn't matter. So
Yeah, you're not gonna escape it.
no,
But what they have is they can take that lens out and put a new lens
very
in,
agree.
and that'll you'll be so it's way better than LASIK because LASIK they reshape your eye
Right,
and
right,
that deteriorates over time. So now you got to go back for it or you just got to
right.
start wearing glasses. But with the lens, it's like forever.
Yeah,
It's a
yeah,
forever.
fascinating.
Okay, I hate having these in my pocket, and
I know.
God forbid you lose them. You're
Yeah,
screwed. I'm screwed that day. I'm not. I can't even see.
yeah,
I can't read my phone or anything like that.
yeah, yeah. I know. It's my first official aging event. Like, I'm just getting older. It happens. Everything else is working pretty great. Eyes and fatigue are the new things, but there's ways to combat those.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so real quick,
Yeah.
we're going to. It'll take about 3 weeks to publish this.
Okay.
We're going to make some shorts and send them to you so
Perfect.
that you
I'll
can
put it all
post.
over LinkedIn and social media and
There you go. There you go.
yeah.
And then one last thing, what we do is we work in the alternative investment space in primarily in value add multifamilies, and
Okay.
and we work with business owners and C-suite executives where we partner with them and we're able to get them double-digit returns and great tax benefits. Is that something you'd be willing to look at a presentation on what we do?
Perhaps, yeah. Yeah.
Oh, okay, then let me if you want, you don't mind, we can set up it's about 30 minutes to go over that. Let me pull up my calendar.
Yeah. And I'm gonna put a link to my the lab tour in the chat right now so you can
Yes, send that and then I'll set that out. Yeah, I'd love to check it out. So what does next month in July, Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday of any day of any week in July look like for you? And then I'll drill
July
down
is
time.
completely bonkers. Like
Okay.
so
August.
August probably safer bet. Let's see. Week of the 11th, August
Okay. So 12th, 13th, or 14th.
14th would be good.
And then time wise between 2:30 and 4.
I can do how long is that meeting?
30 minutes.
Can you do two?
2:30.
At 2 o'clock by any chance? Because I take my kids to jujitsu class at 2:45. We can do how about Monday?
No, not Monday.
Tuesday,
Only
Thursday.
Tuesday and
So
Thursday.
Tuesday, Thursdays, I got to get out of I got to be on the road at 2:45. So how about the week after?
Yeah, the 19th.
Yeah, that's perfect. Yeah, send me an invite for that time. So just Tuesday, you said just Tuesday, Thursdays, is that correct?
Just Tuesday, Wednesday, and
Oh,
Thursday. Oh,
let's
you
do
know what? I
Wednesday.
have a 2 o'clock on the 21st.
Wednesday's pretty open if you want to do Wednesday.
The what day? 20th or
20th.
13th? 20th?
Wednesday the 20th. Yeah,
Okay. Yeah, between 2 and 4:30.
perfect.
Which one?
Oh, 2 o'clock is fine.
Okay, perfect. So you take your kids to jujitsu?
Yeah, I do it with them. So I was taking them to class, and then I'm sorry, I'm gonna get the little code for you, the link for you. Um, I was taking them, watching them, and then I look behind me, and all these dads are in the class, like, are watching their kids, and I'm like, "Do you guys do this?" And they're like, "Every morning." And so I've recently joined about a year and a half ago. Um,
Oh,
uh,
nice.
uh, Basically, I'd go 4 days a week now, and man, there's nothing better than getting beat up before work or beating someone
Yeah.
before work. Like there's nothing, nothing is good for stress relief as consensual brutality. And
Uh-huh.
so I've sustained a few injuries here and there, but about a year and a half now, and I feel more deadly than I've ever felt. Feel better shape.
Yeah.
Muscles going up, testosterone's going up, weight has gone down 5 pounds, and more importantly, in all of that, mental health of just like the being active is one thing, but
Right.
something
With the
about essentially,
confidence, right?
yeah, but
The,
something about brutality, like just being an ape that we are and
yeah.
being wrestling other men is like,
Right. Well, because you learn because because you never know. I mean, you never know what happens. Somebody
right.
gets out of the
I feel like
car.
I can. Yeah, I feel like I can take out an assailant pretty adequately now.
Yeah.
Barring Eddie, if they weren't like a 500-pound a
And
judo guy, but
yeah, you run, then just always run. That's
and just
that.
run, and I can run pretty fast. So exactly, yeah.
Yeah. No, so I have four boys, and,
Okay.
and one of them was a world champion. It became a world champion Kyokushin fighter.
Oh wow,
So
wow.
the Japanese style, I don't know if you know the
Yeah,
style, full
yeah, I've heard of it.
contact.
Yeah, that's
So
amazing.
yeah, so it's cool because I was a Thai boxer in my younger
Okay,
years.
okay,
Yeah,
Muay Thai. Yeah, I did a bit of a year of Muay Thai. That's a fierce one.
it
They like to say
is.
all the fights end up on the ground. If you're a Muay Thai guy, they're certainly going to end up on the ground. And then for that guy,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
having
right, exactly,
yeah,
right. A
because
1-2
your
knockout.
elbows and your knees and oh,
Uh-huh.
that's a fierce. That's the most fierce one, I think. And then, but then when you're on the ground, jujitsu. You know.
I see. I worry like hitting the ground. I worry because then people start kicking you. Everybody jumps in and starts kicking you. So I'm like, in my
Yeah,
mind is like, at all costs, don't hit the ground.
yeah. But the fact is that you get
If you
hit, you
hit the
get on the
ground,
ground, or someone takes you down.
then
I
you
can
got
very
some
quickly choke
skills.
someone and break their elbow in a matter
Yeah.
of seconds, and they're not going to come after you. But
No.
if you're getting beat up by 17 people, it's another story. That's when you just
Right. Like
run.
you're done. Like, okay,
Yeah,
just
you're
cover
done.
up. Yeah.
Yeah, just avoid those peaceful protests.
Right. Right. Yeah. Because they're not so peaceful.
They're not messing around these days. So yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Cool. Alon, well, great to meet you. I'm going
Likewise.
definitely going to make a tour.
Yeah, I'll
And
shoot you a link. I put it in the chat. I don't know if you see it, but I'll shoot you a link to the calendar. And if you send me an invite to that event that we just talked about, I'll
yeah,
be honored. So let me see event. I'll find a way to send this to you.
I'll send you my email.
Okay, that's perfect. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. All right,
Okay.
Alon.
Nice to meet you. Thank you so
Thanks
much.
so
I
much.
appreciate
All
it.
right, great to get to know you.
Likewise. Take
All right,
care.
talk to you later.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to Orange County Power Players. Want to share your success story? Apply to be a guest at ocpowerplayers.com/guest.